Steeler Nation, we are back for another great week of shows. And yes, we do have a special guest today. And as the Dallas Cowboys like to claim America's team, well, we're claiming the world's team with our next guest. And most importantly, Mike, it's never an off season here at the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy, and we want to give a special thanks to our partners who have been riding with us all season, no pun intended, over at Steel City Wheelhouse, where the bar is set. Tires for all cars and trucks can now be purchased online at steelcitywheelhouse.com. Financing is available, and then once you get your car spiffed up, make sure you go see Steel City Wheelhouse and go to the brewery. It's everywhere. It's brewed in Latrobe. It's none other than Stoney's beer. Why settle for a run-of-the-mill mass-produced beer when you can have the best? Upgrade your beer game, raise your standards, and taste the difference that Stoney's beer can delivers. I got one right here to celebrate our next guest.
Cerveza.
Yes. And Mike, I think you'll take it from here and tell the people they can make some money this Super Bowl.
Yeah, this weekend it is finally here. 49ers, Chiefs. Obviously, it has been a crazy season, and I think this is just going to be an excellent Super Bowl between two fantastic teams. Niners, I think, have been the best team all year in pro football. Chiefs started slow out the gates, but Patrick Mahomes ultimately is going to be Patrick Mahomes when it's all said and done. So very excited to see what's going to unfold. I'm placing my bet on the Kansas City Chiefs. And if you're looking for a super offer for Super Bowl 58, DraftKings Sportsbook has me covered and they have you covered, because new customers can bet on the big game and turn $5 into $200 instantly in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code SICKSPORTS. You see it right there. New customers can bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets, only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 58. With code SICKSPORTS, the crown is yours. Once again, I'm very excited. I'm going to take some props. I have a hard time sitting down right now and thinking about what props I'm going to take, because I will be attached to my computer screen or my iPhone screen for about 10 hours each day. And I do have other things to take care of, but always exciting taking over under yards, touchdown props, Gatorade color, national anthem length, all these good things are so much fun. So DraftKings Sports, please utilize that. If you do have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. If you're in New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 46739. If you're in Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly, guys. I wish I could tell myself that. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, once again, 21 plus age, varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility, deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
Wow. Make sure you use the code SICKSPORTS as well. And let's get to our next guest. And this just shows another reason why Steelers is the world team. The Dallas Cowboys can have America. Run it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Harris Smith shields. Flacco Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast.
Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
All right, us two jabronis are probably going to be throwing out Spanish buzzwords the entire time, but that's okay. I'm not too prideful. I'm going to do it right now. We have a caliente show that we are about to bring you, because this gentleman works for Steelers and Espanol Radio. He calls a lot of games, Pittsburgh Steelers games, of course, broadcast across Mexico. Also is a contributor for Fox Sports. We're really excited to talk about his background, his extremely awesome relationships he's developed with the Pittsburgh Steelers, leadership as well. It's none other than Fernando Von Rossum. Fernando, hola, señor.
Yes.
Hola, ¿cómo están? I'm glad that this is a Spanish podcast, so it's going to be easier for me now. It's an honor, and thank you for having me. Mike, Jordan. It's been a pleasure. And I was telling you before we start that maybe I'm too old because I've been doing this for 35 years, and I think you're younger than that. So it's gonna be fun, and thank you. I'm used to do all my broadcasts in Spanish, so English is gonna be a little different today, but we're gonna try our best to say anotación.
Yeah.
That's been a touchdown.
Yeah. We need those.
I know we're going to need some more of those, and I was going to say you still look better than both of us,
Yes.
even if you are a little bit older. So we're very happy to have you on. I love that touchdown call. That is fantastic. You were telling us a little bit about how you became involved with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So tell us about your background a little bit, sir, and how that came to be.
Well, my dad, we have the same name, started broadcasting more than 50 years ago NFL games in Mexico. And at that time, there was not broadcasters that know the game. My family comes from Germany, but my grandma was from San Antonio. So my grandpa used to take my dad to San Antonio, and they watched, games, college games, and started watching NFL games. We're talking the '60s, before I born, and after that, they were broadcasting the first games in Monterey, my hometown. And my dad called the TV station and say, what they're saying is not correct. It's not accurate. And they say, do you know something about this? Well, I know a little bit about it. And that's how I can say the legend started. My dad is considered the John Madden of football in Mexico. He's the one that put all the names in Spanish that have no translation literally from English to Spanish. And he tried to make the game easier for the new fans of football in Mexico. So he, instead of having the guys watching the game and the girls away, he tried to integrate the family and make it easier for the new fans. And it worked. And that was the time when the Cowboys and the Steelers, and I will say the Dolphins and the Raiders were the popular teams that start. They start broadcasting Cowboys and then Steelers in the '70s. We stayed with the Steelers in the family, and
Smart move.
that's how the history began for my family. And then when I was in college, I decided to follow his footsteps, and I get into this in the late '80s. And I started broadcasting in different TV stations in Mexico. Then I had an opportunity to go nationwide in my country, and then all over Latin America with Fox Sports in Spanish. And but before Fox Sports, there was a conflict with the television rights with the two major networks, Televisa and Televisión Azteca. So we took that opportunity and went to the NFL offices in New York to try to create a regional network to broadcast the games. By then, let me just go back a little bit. My dad represents NFL Properties International in Mexico before they opened an office 20 or 30 years later. So we have this relationship with the NFL, and so it worked because somebody at New York leaked that we were there, and the Von Rossum family is pretty well known with the NFL, like a good marriage. And after that, they negotiate and they continue broadcasting. Yeah. So they say, we can give you a radio. So TV at that time, and they still do the games from the studios in Mexico City. So you watch the game on TV like you guys or I. So we decided to go to the stadiums, like the networks in the States. So it was a lot of fun. We started broadcasting on site, and we decided to follow the Steelers. that's how Ed Bouchet and Jerry and Bob and all those guys that we started becoming friends. And I remember they do an interview that they were very strange that some guys from Mexico came to do all this away and home games. That's what opened the door with Mr. Rooney, rest his heart, Mr. Dan Rooney, that he's the one that gave me the opportunity to do something for the Hispanic market for the Steelers more than 20 years ago. And saying that, Kevin Colbert always say that we were the lucky charm. And the 20 years that I was with the Steelers, they were winning in the playoffs. After we decided to not continue or not renew my contract for whatever reason that I don't think it's important right now, they haven't won a game in playoffs. So something happened.
You were the good luck charm.
Well, that's what they say.
You heard it here on the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. That's when the playoff success dropped down. Hey.
We need to come back.
Yes.
Please, anytime. That's an incredible story. And one of the things that I hear the most when anybody sees that I'm a Steelers fan who I don't already know is they say something like, I tell you what, I've been to Italy, I've been to Mexico, I've been to Australia, and there are Steelers fans everywhere. That's one of the things that I hear the most anytime I tell somebody I'm a Steelers fan. And your father, it sounds like, had a large impact on that. Seriously, geographically, everywhere. So that is very, very impressive. So with that said, what is a game day like in Mexico? A lot of Steelers fans, I can imagine. Black and gold jerseys.
I can tell you that from numbers from 5 years ago, 8 years ago, coming from NFL office in Mexico, the Steelers fan base was number one for years. And the Cowboys were too. Contrary that Texas is closer to Mexico.
Yeah.
And it's easier for fans to go to Dallas to watch the Cowboys. But I think it was because the culture, for us, Dallas were the rich and famous. Us, we were the people, the beer and the fiesta and the tequila and the senoritas and all that stuff. And people in Mexico are proud to wear their jerseys, their old Steelers different clothes and all that stuff.
Lots of terrible towels.
Lots of terrible towels. And there was a preseason game, more than 100,000 towels in Mexico City, Azteca Stadium. And let me tell you this, the Steelers have, when they ask me this question, have more good years, going to the playoffs, the Super Bowl. The Cowboys, last time Dolly Parton was a young singer, it was close to 30 years ago. So the people in Mexico are so loyal. And I can say this, that Mr. Rooney asked me to set up the first official club in Mexico. So we started in Monterrey more than 20 some years ago. And then there's club fans everywhere in Mexico. And not only Mexico, Argentina. When I used to travel with the team, there was guys coming from Puerto Rico, Argentina, Chile. The fan base is incredible. And that, I think, created an impression that from grandfather to father to kids, the whole family follow the Steelers, the colors, and having all those good seasons and those recent Super Bowls, 15 years ago, the last one.
Yeah.
I think that helped a lot. And that football fan club in Monterrey, they also travel. They're the ones and that they show in Fox Nationwide or CBS. They travel 40 hours from Monterrey in buses to go to games. So Mr. Rooney decided that let's do youth camps. So we brought players and former players to Mexico, to Cancun, and then they opened the stadium for the players that for the people that came from Mexico. That time there were like 100 and something people. So the Steelers organization are being top class, good with the fans. The efforts to go 40 hours in a bus to watch them every year. So I think it was a win-win situation, and that's why Pittsburgh was one of the first one that took us as commentators for every game, home and away, and put all these efforts to grow the Hispanic and thank the Hispanic community, because in every game, home or away, you can see Mexican flags following the Steelers.
Amazing. And by the way, Dolly Parton looked pretty young this past Thanksgiving. Just throw that out there. Jordan, go ahead.
Yeah, so let's get into X's and O's a little bit. You kind of talked about, how the season went. I think we can all agree that, the standard is the standard here in Pittsburgh. We went Lombardies. We're not, just settling for, a non-losing season. So with that being said, Steelers hired new offensive coordinator Arthur Smith. What are your thoughts on him, and how do you think he could possibly help this offense?
Well, I think it will be good for discount for packages, for parcels to send.
Facts.
Well, the standard is the standard. I don't know if today's standard is the same standard from the 70s to start with. To have, I'm one of the guys that I like Coach Tomlin, but I've been saying for 5 years that his cycle finished with the team. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot in country to say, well, he will have a job in 5 minutes. Well, Andy Reid from Philadelphia, his cycle finished, and now he's having a great time, and the team, Philadelphia, is having a good time. I don't know why this marriage or this from Mr. Rooney, the founder of the team, of not firing coaches. But at the end of the day, my opinion, with all these years in this, is Coach Tomlin with good assistants like LeBeau or Munchak or Arians have good teams. But now he doesn't hire somebody that can be equal or better than him. I don't know why. He has his reasons, but that's a problem. You need to bring the best available guys, like when you go to the draft, the best available player for your team. And that's why there's no Tomlin's tree like McVay, or like he's so young, or Shanahan, or other good coaches. Belichick, for example, I know he's pretty hated in Pittsburgh, but they create and develop people to be successful, not only as players, also on the coaching side. And I think that's one of the most important problems that, I don't know, Tomlin decide that he has to be the boss and nobody can have an IQ better than his. And that's his way of thinking. And one day, Mr. Rooney will decide enough is enough.
Yeah, I hope I completely agree, and I say the same thing. I always use that analogy, the Andy Reid analogy. Obviously, Tomlin would get picked up in a heartbeat. That's not the point. Some things just run its course, and I think here in Pittsburgh, there's no doubt about it. He's a great coach. His track record speaks for itself. But I just feel like you said, you got to get some new faces in here, some new energy. And that leads me to my next question before I throw it over to Mike to finish up this interview. What do you think, rather than the coaching staff, to bring in some new guys, what do you think is the biggest offseason problem that the Steelers need to face? I know that the inevitable thing to say is, that it's the quarterbacks, but, there's a lot of other moving pieces that I think need put together.
Arthur Smith, I think it's going to be good, because worse than candidates, I don't think there's a lot of candidates that can beat that. I think center, it's a big issue because it's the second quarterback is the one that give the signals and I see this guy Jackson Powers or something like that. It
Oregon.
looks good,
Yeah.
but college is one animal. NFL is a different monster. So
We're seeing it now with Kenny Pickett, had an excellent college career and just, it's not clicking right now.
I think, they changed. They fire Canada, and the other two guys did good. But I don't know why Tomlin didn't like Mason Rudolph because Rudolph have patience. He wait for his turn, and in 3 games he gave us something that we haven't seen since Ben Roethlisberger. I think with Pickett he was not ready. Maybe a year or two behind somebody that can take him, to the next level because quarterback is the most difficult position in the game. Mr. Trubisky was another mistake by the people that make decisions. If they bring somebody and Pickett can develop, the problem I see is Ben gave us a lot of good years. So there was no reason to get another quarterback to to prepare.
Yeah.
I don't think Pickett is the solution because with the same system, but different play calling, Rudolph did something different because he had more matureness. He is more used to the game, and he can do it with the same plays, something that Kenny hasn't done in his whole career. I think a good quarterback, maybe, but that will say that Omar and Mr. Rooney fail, and I don't think that's one of the words that you want to hear in their offices. But you need to. They say Arthur Smith is not a good developer for quarterbacks, so I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know why he didn't wait for Kubiak, for example, that guy, or Robinson that declined to come and talk to the team. That says a lot to consider, and I will go with center. And we have good running backs. We have good receivers. If somebody put discipline there, we have good tight ends. And if we go back to a good line, and for a miracle bring Munchak back, I think the Steelers can turn the ball around quickly. But I don't know if Kenny Pickett is going to be the solution.
We are here with Fernando Von Rossum, of course, on the Sick Podcast, Steelers Crazy. His family helped raise a generation of Pittsburgh Steelers fans across the border. Hey, you talked about the good times with Ben Roethlisberger. I want to ask you, what are some of your favorite memories, maybe of calling Steelers games, watching Steelers games, some of the moments that you'll never forget that you've had, that you've probably reflected on and said, hey, I was really happy to be there and see that?
Well, 2 or 3, if we have time.
Sure.
One is when I start doing games for the Steelers, before being hired by them, I have the pleasure to meet Mario Cup. So Bill Hildrop, we've been always a gentleman with us. We've been friends with Tunch, rest in peace. And they decide one day, because our booth were next to them, to put their signal for the Spanish market and our signal in Spanish for the English market. So that was an honor for us to have them put us, because I know the Steeler fan base is special, diehards, and it's not easier for 5 minutes to listen to some Spanish wakers saying something. Well, that was one. Another was a playoff against the Jets. Remember that game that we almost lost, and
Field goal.
The field goal hit the pole and all that. Well, that game, it was so emotional that my dad said, Fernando, we were in commercial break, go to the restroom, cool down, wash your face, and come back, because that was one of the most emotional games that I had in my career. Almost 1,800 games that I broadcast in my career. 600 of those in stadiums. That was one. And Super Bowl 43 for sure. You know, that final drive with Tone, it was incredible. And I can say one more. Remember the Patriots undefeated season when Plexico Burris got that touchdown? I screamed that touchdown like everybody here is in the stadium and all over Latin America, because I was happy for him, because he played in Pittsburgh, and I was happy that the Patriots lose what they think they were gonna repeat like the Dolphins.
Yeah, we were young pups, but I remember that well. The Steelers beat two undefeated teams back to back, Patriots and Eagles, and I do remember that. And that's when a lot of people were like, "This Steelers team has a chance, Big Ben." But that was two of the most memorable wins I had. Remember growing up as a kid, because both of those teams looked like they were unbeatable at that time. So absolutely some great stories, some great memories to hear. Hey, tell everybody else, everybody who's watching, of course, no matter where they are, where they can find you. What are you doing next? When can we listen to you? Where can we hear you? Where can we follow you?
I have a podcast like you guys. Is daily, Monday to Friday, and my dad and I brought all the commentators from ESPN and the different networks to have fun with us. It's either we work with them or we know each other for years. So we have the most recognized voices and talent doing games for the past 30 or more years. So that's called Los Mariscales. Mariscales is quarterback in Spanish. Mariscal de Campo was the translation. And you hear Mariscal de Campo in every Spanish broadcast coming from my dad from the 70s. So we call Los Mariscales. You can say that the captains or something, to understand in English. And that's during the season. And we don't have rights right now, so we do the Mariscales cast like the Mannings. So I have Roberto Ramovich that do soccer with your producer, and I have guys from different networks, and we do some play-by-play, and then we talk about some history, when the game is so bad, some jokes. You need to improvise a little bit, and I will send you the link if you want to share with the people that follow you. I know there's Spanish speaking people that maybe would like to know about us. And there's one more thing I want to say before we finish. I was there in that championship game that the Patriots beat our asses. Sorry about my language.
Okay, no, it's a podcast. You can swear.
And I heard myself from Heinz Ward, coach, they knew our plays.
Really?
Yeah, I was there, and I hear that, and he was crying. Wow. And they were so upset. I think it was 2004, if my memory is correct. And there's one more. Remember, everybody say, well, New England cheat and do this and do that. I was working for the Steelers. We were in a playoff in New England at 3:00 in the morning. They put the fire alarm and they wake us up. And so they do everything dirty that you can imagine and more to try to screw the team. Well, us as press, we don't care, but for them, it's one story and another, guys.
Unfortunately, there are plenty of times where the Patriots kicked the Steelers' ass. So I was not sure which one you were talking about, but that 04 game, I think the safety, Anthony Smith, maybe had guaranteed a win or something like that for the Steelers at home. Is that the one you're talking about? Where they came into Pittsburgh and
there was a lot. That's why
I could be wrong.
Try to forget that.
It was like the second year of Ben, or he was a rookie. It was one of the first seasons, and the alarm was the last time we went to New England like 5 years ago or so, and but there's a lot of stories.
Como se dice cheaters?
Tramposos.
Tramposos. The Patriots.
Well, now we just. our viewers will really
Belichick,
appreciate this, Fernando, because, obviously, like, it's a new era. Belichick's gone, Brady finally retired, hopefully. And, you just kind of solidified everything, that the Patriots cheat. So there you have it.
Hey, I want to thank you as well. Also want to mention, I know in the beginning of the show, we said that you're better looking than us. Your English is also better than ours, too.
Yeah.
So I'm serious. And before we let you go, give us that touchdown call one last time. Or okay, I'll throw you a scenario. Touchdown, Kenny Pickett to George Pickens. Okay?
That is going to happen?
Okay.
Let's do the one Mason Rudolph.
Hey, look, I wore my Ben jersey for this one, too.
Okay, how about Roethlisberger to Santonio Holmes or Antonio Brown?
Okay. Super Bowl, Supertazón 43. Últimos 15 segundos. Los acereros están a 7 yardas por anotar. Acaba de fallar Ben con Santonio. Toda la serie ofensiva ha ido con él. Esta es la última llamada para los acereros. Sale la jugada. Ben busca a la izquierda, busca a la derecha, sale de la bolsa de protección. Allá encuentra a Santonio. ¡Va el pase! ¡Lo agarró! ¡Anotación de los acereros! Los 2 pies dentro. Acaban de confirmar la repetición instantánea y los acereros van a ganar el Supertazón 43. 6 Lombardis para Petr. Here we go.
I think it's safe to say something good happened. Fernando.
Thank you so much. Your stories were great. We'll have to have you on again soon.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you. I have the UU 99 yards, remember, in Detroit? I'm going to tell you that. Yeah, UU, Sema UU. That was when they sold their bike. I'm going to send you that if you like it and you want to put it in your show.
Oh, definitely.
We would love to see that. You are the man. So thank you so much, amigo.
Gracias.
Thank you. Buenas tardes and mucho gusto.
Buenas tardes. Buenas noches. Gracias. That was fun. That was just fun.
These are why the off-season shows are just so good, and especially when we have guests on like this who can just tell stories and man, this is what it's about. Because obviously, right now we want to be in the Super Bowl, but got to work to get there.
Intriguing stuff about what he said about Mike Tomlin. You don't expect somebody with that close of ties to the Steelers, the organization, and the Rooney lineage to come out that strongly against Mike Tomlin. But he did not mince his words, and he said it better in English than we would have, like I said. So, yeah, that definitely holds a lot of weight coming from somebody of that stature, no question about it. And like you and I have said, I think he's absolutely right. Is there still a chance for Tomlin to turn things around this coming year? Absolutely. If they get some pieces in order and they, can get close to a Super Bowl title, I will eat my words as well and say, hey, his cycle did not end, which is the word that Fernando used. But it doesn't feel like that's going to happen. It does feel kind of like we're at a stalemate and things are just stuck in neutral instead of driving straight ahead. No 4-wheel drive like Steel City Wheelhouse here. We're stuck in neutral in a on a Mount Washington hill or something like that, man. But that was a great time. Appreciate having him on. Hope you guys enjoyed our shows this past week. Make sure you hit subscribe and the like button, and you share this not just in the USA, but in Mexico and Canada or wherever across the world. Jordan says it well. It's not Steelers nation, country. It's Steelers worldwide, and we proved that yet again today. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.